Hi, this is the mob presentation part two for the final. Um, for a refresher, this is the blob, the species that I was covering. It is a 10-legged creature, much like a spider, and each individual leg is like a centimeter long. And then that is the sagittal section of the blob. It has a velopharyngeal port, much like a human, so it has a nasal cavity and can produce those sounds. It has a tongue-like structure, but it's more of like a little knob at the back of the throat. So it can do like a velar approximate type thing, but can't really articulate many sounds other than that. But it has big lips that can do all of the labial sounds. So yeah. Background refresher. I mentioned that, and they were discovered in northern Canada in 2018, and research is still ongoing about their language. They use their legs to write in the dirt, trees, and snow and ice. And blobs have extremely sensitive limbs that make up for their lack of sight, so they can both read the texture in their writing and feel their surroundings better. And then the mob consonants are, as we can see, all of the labial sounds. So the voiceless and voiced, plosive and fricative, and then the bilabial trill, and then a velar approximate, a glottal stop, and two glottal fricatives. And then the mob vowels are only the back vowels because the tongue is like a little nub, like I said. And then the writing system, like I said, is full of words which are symbols, and they don't contain the full morphology of the language. And then for the phonology, it can have V syllables, CV syllables, CVC syllable structures, and then there's one phonological rule listed where P goes to M at the word boundary, and you'll see this a lot in the plural. So that leads us to the plural, and this is kind of a review. So there's singular, dual, and plural for count nouns. So this is an example for potatoes, and it's just reduplication. And then for the plural, the reduplication is just of the coda, while the dual is reduplication of the full syllable. And then for non-count nouns, the plurality is binary, and it seems to be if the source is more than one blob, and it's just simple reduplication for singular to the plural. So morphology for case, mob has absolutive and ergative case. So these are some examples. I want the water. So the first singular pronoun is labeled with h, which is the absolutive marker, and moo water is labeled with the h ergative. And then for the intransitive, the first singular pronoun is labeled with the ergative marker because it's the subject of the transitive sentence now, so it now has the h marker on the subject. And then for tense and aspect, so present tense is unmarked, past tense is marked by reduplication of the coda of the first syllable, and future tense is contextual. So that looks like hunt, hunted, and will hunt. Hunt is unmarked, and these are the underlying forms. And then hunted has that extra P, which with the phonology will be turned to a M at the word boundary. And then will hunt has a new word attached to it that translates to tomorrow. And then aspect, Mob will use progressive morphology to signify an action that is not yet completed. This is often used with the third singular and third plural because most often the blobs in groups talk about other blobs outside of their group and what they are currently doing. So the example "I'm hunting" has the third singular pronoun attached to the ergative marker because it's the subject, and then hunting with a present progressive. The present is unmarked, and then the progressive is marked by the B. And you know that this isn't just reduplication for the past because it would be P, which would turn to M. So these are very distinct features. Okay, for the next slides, I removed my camera because it covers some of the syntax. So for the underlying word order and the DP movement, the underlying word order is the same, SVO, but there's DP movement to the specifier position, like you see there. And then for questions have the same underlying word order, SVO. The object inside of the verb phrase is moved to the specifier position, and it'll read "water you want" for the surface form, and that's kind of odd because usually the specifier position is only a determiner phrase, but this language says it's okay to communicate that it's a question. And then this is the syntax for embedded clauses. Here there's a sentence that says, "I said that I saw 100 potatoes." So that would be like a complementizer normally, but in mob, the complementizers are null, so there's nothing that it's actually said. And you can see this in the translations as well. And this sentence was sampled from the story, so you'll also see this later. Passive voice. So there's no movement, and they leave the specifier blank in the passive voice that's at the bottom example. And that object is still marked as ergative, which for non-transitive sentence, which the passive sentence would now be, that would be labeled the subject, although it's still in the lower position in the tree, like it didn't get moved up. But to communicate passives, it doesn't get moved up to show it, but it's still marked with ergative case. So you can see that. And then the active voice is just basic, normal. The short story helpful vocabulary, I have a little bit more than 10. But food, noise, water, hunt, 100, potato, home, mountain, danger, tomorrow, want, run, see, and then that's like a preposition. In mob, they only have kind of one preposition so far that researchers know about that they use. And then these are some of the pronouns, and then the only one I feel like I should touch on is that fourth like collective. It's we with the speaker included. And then the story kind of goes like, Bopomo wanted food, and I ran to the mountain. I wanted a potato. I saw 100 it said I saw 100 potatoes. I heard a noise. I took one potato. I ran home. I said that I saw 100 potatoes. But Pomo said, I want 100 potatoes. And I laughed. I don't know if that translation is cut off. But yeah, that's the short story that I wrote. There's a couple embedded clauses in the short story and markings with the ergative and, or let's just say case because I can't remember right now and I'm running out of time and I'm already over. So anyways, it was nice having class with all of you guys, and yeah, this was great.